What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Wedding Lens Lounge podcast. I actually don't even know how to introduce these two because I just freaking love them, and like no joke, they are probably like one of my all-time favorite podcast people, hosts, whatever you want to call them. They just bring so much great insight and great knowledge and great wisdom to the wedding industry world, but they also are just truly themselves. There's no BS when they are coming up on to any of their episodes, any of their shows, and that's what I love about them. But before I say anything else, just fangirling out here. Michael and Lauren, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and whoever wants to go first, go for it.
Mike, you go first. No, Sniffles could go first because she sniffles on every episode. Go.
Stop calling me that. I can't help it. It's the Northeast in the winter. I don't know what to tell you. Allergies. Sorry.
Yeah, hate them.
I'm Lauren O'Brien. I'm a wedding photographer. I'm one half of the Vendor Table podcast. I've been shooting exclusively weddings and portrait sessions for, since 2016. So however many years that, 8?
Good math. 8 years? 8. Okay. Yep.
Girl math.
Go.
No,
that's real
8
math.
years. I've been doing it full time this is my 4th year. So full time on my own 4th year in business. And this is our 1-year anniversary of having our podcast, the Vendor Table podcast.
I love it. Yeah. And it's March 20th today. So March 20th, congrats to you guys. That's amazing. That's huge. Huge accomplishment. Yeah.
Thank you.
I honestly read there was like a statistic that said like 95 to 99% of podcasts, like people that start one, don't even get to like their 20th episode. So.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, good job being in the 1%.
That.
I hope
that's pretty wild
because it sounds really cool. I heard it from somebody, so I hope it's true.
I heard it on the internet, so it's true.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense when you think about it because a lot of podcasts fizzle out because of timing and things like that. If you hear a dog barking, by the way, that's my
Daisy.
That's my 80-pound fox sound. Always when I have things going on, it's fine.
Good boy.
That's Daisy.
Yeah. Taylor, let me just pause this for 1 second. I want to get her so she doesn't interrupt this.
You're good. I'm just going to.
Meanwhile, mine is like 6 pounds and it's living under a blanket.
So it's Daisy's chew toy, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyone's chew toy, really. He's like, and he's like fucking 100.
All the time. I feel like little dogs are just nuts and they're adorable, but I never want one personally.
They're not for everyone, for sure.
No, I would not be able to take care of it well.
I can see her.
Sit down. Oh my god, she's such a. I'm sorry that you're gonna have to edit that. That was
You're
like legitimately.
It'll take like literally 30 seconds.
She's a pain in my ass. Like as soon as like the neighbors walk, they have greyhounds. Legitimately, they have like these 2 big greyhounds, and she's not good with other dogs. Go lay down. Go lay down.
You're interrupting.
You're
Daisy.
interrupting my podcast recording. Go lay down.
Show some respect.
Go lay down. Go lay down.
I'm like super tempted to just keep it all in, but
yeah, you could put that in the bloopers. She's
yeah.
Like, just give me one. Hold on.
You're fine.
Are you kidding me? Lay down. Are you kidding right now? Hold on. I gotta put her.
Do your thing, man.
Ninja!
I have to do that with my own kids sometimes. Like, are you kidding me?
So, yesterday I was doing a consult for a maternity client, and everything was fine. I was like, I'll send you a contract. We'll get things moving. We'll set up a date, blah, blah, blah. Right at the tail end of this call, as I'm saying goodbye, my son just goes at the top of his lungs, "Mommy! I have to go pooping!" I was like, sick. Sorry about that.
I could totally relate.
You know, like...
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like people love that, though. Like,
they do. Like, the session was with the the husband, he was doing like he wanted to surprise her with a gift, and so I was like, you know, this is your future.
Yeah.
This is what you have to look forward to. Just
Yep. It's also called birth control.
Yeah, this is the best form of birth control.
Literally, anytime I like walk into a room where there's like a bunch of kids, I'm like, that's just male birth control right there. I don't have to take a pill to.
I heard everything you're saying, and I agree with everything you're saying. So
yeah,
sorry about that.
You're fine, bro. You're good. You're good.
You'll have to cut that out. But yeah, like I don't want the dog to obviously be barking over your podcast. That's not professional or anything like that. She's a pain in my ass.
I think where we were at was you telling people about yourself now.
Easy transition.
All right.
I don't think I had to really say more than what I said, right? Like, I don't know.
You're good.
I have tattoos.
All right, so I'll pick it up from there. I'll do a soft transition for you. So like I always do a countdown if we have to cut an episode, so it gives you a little breathing room. All right, 3, 2, 1. So I got into like wedding photography, 12 years ago, which is crazy to me. It's been that long. I shot my first wedding 12 years ago.
Dang.
I worked a corporate 9 to 5 while I was doing it. It was like my side hustle, which is kind of like looking back on everything. I was like, holy crap. Like I can't believe I did this for so long as a side hustle before going full time. I went full time in 2019, a year before obviously the world shut down. Have photographed over almost 400 weddings now, which is crazy to me.
That's insane.
It's an excessive amount of parties that I've been to, and not have been able to partake in those parties, document them. But no, I always tell people it's the coolest job in the world. I always say I get a front row seat to the best day of somebody's life. Like what better way to be able to enjoy, and truly love it. Been doing this now for a long time, so I feel like I've seen it all, and being like when Lauren and I started the podcast, we had so many stories to share and so many like so many tips and tricks and our own personal experiences to share. And that was part of the reason we started the podcast, is we had a conversation at a vendor table, and that's where it was born. So that's my little journey well,
that was a lot more insightful and in depth than mine.
I mean, that's usually how our episodes. That's usually how our episodes go. I'm just saying.
That was rude.
I try to be rude.
Uncalled for.
I toe the line of rude and just annoying every episode, so it's fine.
Mike and I have shot probably about the same amount of weddings. Mike's been shooting longer than I have, but I shot for a studio where they did like way higher volume for 5 years. So I basically burnt myself out by the time the pandemic hit, and that's when I was like, all right, it's time to be done with this.
Yeah. Well,
and
like
do
how
everything
many
on my
shooting?
own.
How often were you shooting?
I was shooting 80 to 100 weddings a year.
Oh my gosh. So you were
myself.
So you were like double, triple, like every weekend.
A lot of triples, which I think I booked one this year, or one or two this year, and even then I was like, what am I doing? But for the most part, I only do 1 or 2 weddings a weekend. 2 is the absolute maximum I do, unless it's like a slower month, and then I'll pack it all up into that weekend, and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm done for the month. Like,
yeah,
it's tragic. I can't do triples anymore. My body says fucking no.
Yeah, I've never done a triple. Actually, I did it. I can't say I never did a triple.
You've done triples.
I've done 1 triple, and I said I'll never do that. And I did a triple. I second shot a day, and then had my own double header. And I don't know how people do a triple for themselves without wanting to just go and die in a
awful.
Cold corner.
It hurts.
Yeah.
My first wedding that I shot this year, it's a full 10-hour day, right? I get home and I'm like, this is death. This is what dying feels like.
Yeah.
As you get older, the body doesn't react well after a 10 to 12 hour day.
The body's not bodying.
carrying 20 pounds of camera equipment, and you're like, okay, and bending, like I always stretch before a wedding day. Big tip to all those listeners out there: stretch before a wedding day. I do it. I actually like get out of the car and I'll stretch before I head into the couple's house. People probably look at me like, look at this fucking weirdo. But honestly, ever since I started doing that, like my recovery has been a little easier, because I would wake up the next day sore as hell. Like it was like a gym session. And
you don't realize
you wear a watch, like 20,000 steps sometimes.
You don't realize how many times you squat either.
Yeah.
My legs, my thighs, my glutes be burning.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like sometimes I like ran a freaking marathon the next day. Like, you know, it just hurts.
You need like a full day of recovery afterwards. It's wild. And like I feel like the younger people who are listening right now are like, these fucking old people with their broken bones and paper skin.
So you'll put on soon. Some WD-40 right in between every crevice of your body,
My morning ritual. Yeah. Pretty much.
It's
pretty
awful.
rough.
Yep.
We know like our friend Heather, she just rebranded. She's Heather Pauline Photography. She's incredible. But the woman is crazy. She'll do like quads.
Yeah.
Like four weddings in a row. Or she does a lot of like multicultural weddings. So she'll do like an Indian wedding and then like another Indian wedding, which those are like 2 days, 2-3 day events. And she's just like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, how are you not broken?
She doesn't have kids yet.
That's not, yeah, no.
No,
that might do it.
That's a game changer right there. I know. I see like these people like pulling all-nighters, they're like tired the next day and they have no kids. I'm like, I have literally zero sympathy for you. Zero.
I have
truly
like one of my photo friends by the name of Caitlin Ferris. She's incredible. She is known for her delivering teasers like the next day, and she would deliver like 100+ teasers the day after a wedding. Dang. And she's like bubbly and like love and light and like all this like gorgeous stuff, and like she's very like shares her stories on Instagram. And I'm like, when you have a kid, if you're still doing that, I'm going to give you the biggest props ever, because that shit goes. I used to do that shit too. I'm like, I could stay up till 3 a.m. and edit like 100 photos. Like that's the last thing I want to do now. I'm like, I get home at 1. I'm like, where's my bed? Where's my bed?
Nope. Yep.
Immediate bed.
Yeah, we're like,
immediately no.
We promise your pictures are safe, but
yes,
yeah,
I gotta.
They're not going anywhere, but I am going to bed
because you don't have the choice of like when you wake up the next morning.
No.
Yeah, there's no wiggle room there unless you have just. I mean, sometimes thankfully my wife will like take the kids in the morning if it's like a Sunday, but most of the time, yep.
I will say. Yeah, my husband is an angel on earth, and he does like wake up really early. So if my son gets up early and I'm shooting a late night wedding, he's like, I got this. And I'm like, I love you so much.
Yeah, you're like, that is like, I don't need flowers. I don't need anything.
No.
That's
my love language. Sleep is my love language. Right there. Yes,
that's all I need. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Like one of the
spouses are the unsung heroes of wedding professionals. They really are.
100%.
Like if you're 100% true on that.
If you're married and you're a photographer in the industry, and you realize how quickly like a spouse is really the unsung hero because of the fact of like what they put up with, number one, what they do outside of the lines, like number two, that's like, and then the depths they go to just kind of keep you upright. Like they really like my wife is just, my wife's a school teacher, so like we have like during the summer she really picks up the slack for like like when I'm busy and stuff like that, but in the fall she goes back to school and we're both busy at the same time. That's like our peak season.
Yeah.
That's my peak season, and that's the start of her school year. So she really picks up the slack on the weekends, even after going to like, starting a brand new fresh school year. So I give her all the props in the world that she puts up with my
shout
bitch
out to
ass,
all
because
teachers.
Queen Cassara.
Yeah.
She really is.
I lasted 2 years
even
as a teacher and I was done. Like,
oh no. I can't do what they do.
No.
Like our jobs can be hard, but that's a job. That's a big boy job.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I see all these teachers like, just I don't know how they survive it. They do, but they're also heroes in our life. Honestly, you know,
Truly.
yeah.
Back to, I mean, I remember Mike and I were talking about this, like going back to our spouses for a second. Like, I remember one time I had just like a big brain malfunction and I left the house with all my gear minus my flash batteries. And I had to call my husband and be like, I need you to get the batteries off the charger and bring them to me now. I can't shoot their reception without these.
Yep.
And he was like, I got you. And he showed up, gave me the batteries, brought them off the charger. And I was like, what would I have done without him?
Had no flash.
No.
Screwed.
Yeah. Has your spouse ever bailed you out, Taylor? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I needed. This is when I did like some video before I went into photo. It was for a wedding, and I needed the mic to record.
Oh shit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. She packed up the kids for me, and I think we only had the one kid at the time, and she packed it up. My daughter brought the mic all the way. It was like a 45-minute drive, and she did it. And I was like, I got you later, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like,
anything you need forever.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Right. She's like, don't worry. I got some ideas. I was like, whatever. I don't really care, whatever it is. But yeah. They really are. I wouldn't be able to do this business without her support, you know, and you guys understand that completely. And
hell yeah.
Absolutely.
My husband was the one that encouraged me to go full time. Where like a lot of, I wouldn't say all of my family members, but a lot of your peers don't necessarily think of this sometimes as an actual job or career. They think it's like a gig or like a little side job, you know?
You're like, oh, that's cute that you do that.
That's a cute little thing that you're doing, but what's your real job? Like, that is my real job, actually.
Only you know. Yeah.
I think my own father, like a couple of months ago, was just like, wow, you're actually doing pretty good with this. And I'm like, I've been doing this for like almost 10 years.
It took that long.
How has it taken this long to register that?
It hurts a lot.
But it's like one of those things where you're a professional photographer, and they're like, that's cute.
Right. Yeah.
But my husband from day one was always like, you can do this and you can do it well. Just jump. And he was the only one.
Wow.
Aside from Mike.
I did give her a little wise words of encouragement and give her like the little kick in the ass to like, I'm like, you could do this. You stop. Like, she was doing like a lot of side gigs. And I'm like, why are you putting the time into these? Like, they're just a headache, and you're not focusing fully on your business. And I think for anyone that's like kind of looking to transition to full time, whether you have a 9 to 5 or whether you have, you know, like a lot of different jobs, or maybe you're a photographer and you're, you know, working for studios and things like that. It's like, until you focus fully on your business, like, it will never take that next step. So you really have to focus fully on it. And I did the same thing. My wife gave me a like the wise words of encouragement. And as soon as she gave the okay, and I put full focus into it, I watched my business explode. And that's like, sometimes you just need that support system, whether it's a friend, family member, spouse, anything like that. It will help you in the long run focus and improve and really grow.
It is wild when you have that time, and then you also have that support of feeling like you actually can go all in with it, and you have that like that confidence and motivation because they're just all in with you. And I remember when I was able to do that, my wife's like, yep, go for it. She told me, same thing. She told me like, you know, a few years ago, like, if you really want to do this full time, go for it. I'm like, no, I'm scared, just like everyone else was. Yeah, like you don't get that paycheck that you're promised, even though the job's never guaranteed anyways. You know, that's the part of like, what the hell? Like, I don't have this job guaranteed either. So like, why not go into something I like actually enjoy doing and go all in with it? But yeah, and it was.
You're not wrong one bit, because when you think about
Not
it, like
at
look at the pandemic, for instance. How many people lost their jobs? How many people like got furloughed or like
Right.
let go?
Raise your hand if you lost your job during COVID.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
everyone.
Yeah.
So like nothing's guaranteed in life. So like I always say, like if you're taking the plunge of being an entrepreneur and like you have like you have success waiting for you, and or it's calling your name, and you're just too afraid to take that plunge, like sometimes you just need a swift kick in the ass to like really like put you
Absolutely.
onto that trajectory. And for me, it was like I had like two things kind of launch me. One was like a really good review from a client, like launched my business and gave me the like the insight to know that like, hey, this could be successful, because I was getting the inquiries in. But the other was my wife, like being the support system and saying like, hey, you can do this. Like this is something you can do. Like it is really, you know, it might be tough, but you know, we'll get through it. We could do it. So
Absolutely.
having a good support person is definitely key.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike knows like the amount of times that I called him in tears because I was so upset with how these other companies were treating me and like how little money I was making for the amount of stress and energy I was putting into the work. That was like fault. It was forcing me to take a step back from the business I was trying to grow. So it was stagnant and I couldn't build and I couldn't grow or get better. So he was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Why?
Right. Just
why are you doing it?
Come on.
I was like, I don't know.
It's because you had girl math logic going on.
Girl math, but literally it was just that fear of not making that consistent money that I was making, and that I wouldn't be able to get it myself. And that very day that I called him crying, I quit. And I was like, he's right. There's really no excuse for me to be this upset and miserable and bring this bad energy home and have nothing to show for it.
What a good friend.
Very good friend.
Yeah, seriously. Like that's honestly like I know we joke about, but like that is what a true friend is. Somebody that is going to, you know, kick your rear end in gear and like really actually shoot it to you straight of what you need to do, you know.
Pat was so upset too. He was like, I've been telling you to leave for months, and yet you have a phone call with Mike one time, and then you quit. And I was like, well, I mean, he's like me though, you know, like it's hard. He gets me in the sense that like Mike is also a photographer that went full time and took the leap. Whereas, you know, my husband works for a corporate company as a sales rep. So it's like very hard for him to say, like, I know you can do this, because of course he thinks I could do anything because he's the most wonderful human being on the planet. But I needed to hear from somebody who's done it. That it can be done. So
I totally get it. We're
gonna play this back when she doubts me.
I never doubt you. I never do.
We're gonna play this back when she's giving me shit, things like that. I'm gonna play this conversation back for her. I'm gonna send it to her as a voice recording.
It is my job,
just for you, Mike.
It is my job as your unwanted little sister to bust your balls constantly. But I would never ever say that anything that or any advice that you gave me wasn't correct.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that. I need that audio recording. Taylor, you send me a copy of this. Thank you.
I got you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We need that little bit of motivation in our life.
Thanks for being you, Michael. You fuck.
You guys really are like a little brother and sister. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true though, because one of my friends, he's like a really successful entrepreneur in a different type of industry. He does like financial blogging, all that type of stuff. He's killing it. But he always told me and it was always so helpful to hear that he basically said, you know, you have to not think in the mindset of, well, if photography fails or what you're doing fails, you can just do this. Instead, switching it to saying like, well, no, I'm not going to let that happen. And this is what I'm going to do to ensure I stay in something that I love. And like, it was such like a great mindset shift because, you know, there always is like, oh yeah, if my business fails, I got my backup plans. I'll go work for UPS or, you know, work for a corporate job again. But like, why would you even have that mindset in general? Like you love this. Why would you want to risk that going away ever? So do whatever it takes to actually make it happen.
That's so true. It's so
Very
true.
well said.
Yeah, it's very well said, because when you think about it, like a lot of people just think for the fact that, like, they want that safety net.
Yep.
They want that security blanket, right? That to fall back on just in case. The risk takers are the ones that are rewarded the most. At the end of the day, if you're taking the plunge to do this, whether you're, getting into wedding photography or anything, any field like financial blogging, okay? If you take the risk and you take the plunge to do something and that payoff is 20 times more rewarding than anything that you would ever get, like climbing a corporate ladder or climbing a ladder for somebody else. So that's always what I felt was, when I had the opportunity to take that leap, if I didn't do that, I would regret it for the rest of my life. Truly. I would look back on that and be like, man, I could have did that. I could have did that. You don't want to be that person ever.
No.
Like you never want to be that person that
have.
Exactly. So take the leap. If you're thinking about it, of course, have like it all laid out and make sure you have like a little bit of security there.
Be smart about it.
Be smart about it. Don't just jump in like, with 2 feet. But like, honestly, like we both of us needed a little bit of motivation to take that leap. For me, it was, like you, Taylor, like we, getting that paycheck, monthly and everything like that. I wanted to make sure when I went full time, I was at least making that much money per month. So I know, like, hey, my bills would be covered. Like my mortgage would be like covered, all that stuff would be covered. And then, anything I made after that was bonus to me. Like, so I'm like, okay, like I could grow with the times. I could, elevate my business like throughout the years, but at least I know I'm making this much for the next 2 years, that I'll be okay for 2 years. And that was the big factor there for me. Was once I saw the financials line up and everything there, I was like, well, what's holding me back? Only myself. And that was it. So that's when I took the lead.
You.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's you against you.
It always is. I feel like that's the scariest part about starting a business, is that you're the one in control of your own success.
Right. And it's also one of the most exciting parts too,
Yeah.
because you get to like create something that is so incredible, but you got to put in the freaking work. That's what like drives me nuts sometimes, is people are like, oh, I'm not getting my inquiries, or like my business is like lacking. I'm like, well, have you looked into what's wrong with it? Like you can't just assume that it's just going to fall in your lap, because, we're not some little rich kids that it just happens that way, like we got to work our asses off to make it all happen.
Revise and evolve. That's like two words I always say, is like, if something's not working, you revise it and then you evolve it. And if you're not doing that on a consistent basis, and I'm saying like every year you should look at your business and revise it and evolve it. Like what's a new trend that, like, maybe it's a marketing trend, maybe it's a social media trend, maybe what's going to elevate your business to that next level. Like it could be something so minute, something so small that will get you an extra 30 to 40 to 50 leads a year. And, that could lead to 10 bookings, and that 10 bookings could be $100,000 worth of business, depending on how much, you charge. So it could be a little minute change, but like we talked about this on a recent episode of our podcast where, companies or people that don't evolve go the way of the dinosaurs. They go extinct. So you always have to evolve your business, especially as a small business owner. It's the most important thing I think you could do.
Right. And you got to see the roadblocks and challenges as opportunities for growth. You can't just sit there and like be like, well, done. This is it. It's a big old roadblock.
It's never over. It's never done.
Nope. No,
never. There's always more that can be done. Always.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's what makes it exciting. It's not the same stuff all the time, and because that's the unfortunate part about most corporate jobs is same shit, different day, right? That's I feel like that's the motto of most of those 9 to 5s. But for us,
and you're at that point, you're just contributing to somebody else's success at that point. Like when you're working corporate, which isn't, it's not a bad thing if that's something that you're in love with.
Yeah.
You're part of a team, a community that works for you. But one of the most beautiful things about having your own business is that it's it's all 100% yours and you're doing it yourself, which I think is just a very big point of pride for both Mike and I and any other small business owner.
Yeah.
It's also completely and utterly terrifying sometimes.
Absolutely.
I'm the worst boss I've ever had.
But you're also the best boss you've ever had.
I am also the best boss I've ever had. It's very bipolar over here. Lots of ups and downs.
All the emotions. I love it. It would be as fun without
regardless, this is the happiest I've ever been in my career, in my life. So
I love hearing that.
It just feels very good to finally have a good moment for my mental health, my relationship with my family and all of that, just because I decided to do this on my own. And it just feels amazing.
Isn't it amazing how like the choices you make affect everyone else too in your life that you're close with? Yeah,
Big time.
It's a huge like domino effect. I remember when I was miserable in my job, and then it literally just trickled into my family too. Couldn't enjoy time with them. Previous job was all mind consuming. When you make that shift into something you love and you have that support, it's one of the best feelings in the world. And I really do see that out of you too, like in your conversations on your episodes and just like on your stories and everything that you share. Like I really, it's like evident that you both truly really love what you guys do. And it's so fun that
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because so many people think we hate what we do.
We get a lot of haters. A lot of haters, Taylor.
There's more that are just going to come out of the woodworks.
A lot of people thinking that because we have moments where we complain about trends or certain things that have happened to us at weddings, that we absolutely hate our jobs. And that's simply not the case. We really love what we do. And it's just like any other person working for a job that there's something irritating that happens that you want to vent about. And that's it.
It's not perfect.
No.
Yeah, if you find the perfect job, let me know.
Yeah.
Because we're pretty close to it. We're pretty close to it, but there's still those pieces that they're not enjoyable. It's and just if you have the money, outsource it. Gosh, get rid of it off your freaking task table so you can actually do the parts you love. Just small little piece of advice.
The good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you guys first started this podcast, what was, I guess, your main intention behind it? I know you kind of talked about it real briefly at the beginning, but like, what was your main goal with it? And then what's been most exciting about it now?
Mike?
What was our main goal, Lauren? We had no goal, Taylor.
We really didn't. We really didn't.
But like, we're going to spill some insight here. Yeah, we had this whole plan and we were so set up and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. This like people, we started the vendor table as a fun side project. That was like, we wanted to just,
that was like the goal.
Like do a podcast. Like, I think a lot of people start podcasts with the intention of like at least over the last few years, just like to start a podcast. Right. Yeah. And that was her and I's conversation. We're like, oh, like we have a good conversation. We should do a podcast. Like, like we could spill some insight and, maybe talk about some shit. I don't know, like, let's see how it goes. And when we started it, we were like, I don't think we had a really game plan. We're like, are we going to do education? Are we going to do like,
no.
We're like, are we going to just tell stories? Like, what are we going to do? So the first episode we ever recorded was absolute trash. Like, don't listen to it, by the way. It's like horrible. It's probably our first. It's like how we got started. We didn't know what we were talking about. But when we recorded our second episode, it was all about wedding trends that we love and hate, mostly hate. But that was the title of the episode. Yeah. And we found our footing there. And it took 2 episodes, but we noticed how fun that was to record that second episode. We were like, this is a lot of fun. And we didn't hate on everything. We like, like this is a cool trend. This is, oh my God, we hate this trend. Like, and we put ourselves out there though. We made ourselves vulnerable and put ourselves out there. And, that's how it was kind of born. And as the episodes progressed, we kind of found our footing with like, we're a podcast about like that offers the vendor perspective. And like, our podcast description is like, sharing the chaos, thrill, and hilarity of being full-time photographers in the wedding industry. And that's what we talk about is like, we're full-time photographers. We share our insights, our stories, our craziness, like our, everything that goes into a wedding day from the behind the scenes perspective. That like, and it's funny, but we have I'd say 70% of our audience are wedding vendors, but we do have 30% that are brides and grooms that were just tuning into the chaos. So
that's really cool.
We found our footing though. And it did take a few episodes before we really found our niche. And that's, what it is today. That's what the vendor table is today.
One of the things that was super important to us, like when we did start the podcast, and one of the things that we like initially discussed at the vendor table when we were eating dinner at a wedding that we were shooting, was that the majority of the photography or wedding industry related podcasts that we heard were very wishy-washy about weddings, about the wedding industry. It was very like love and light, and that's great and all, but why isn't anyone talking about the chaos that comes with being a wedding vendor?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right.
Because there's so much that we could talk about for days and days and days about all of this stuff, or crazy stories about ways people mistreated us at weddings that like nobody wants to talk about.
Exposing secrets, exposing like the back end of the industry, like things that people don't talk about.
People are too afraid to talk about.
Right. It's true.
For some reason.
It's true.
And that was the part that we really saw as an opportunity. Once we started talking about it more and more, we were like, this could be an opportunity to talk about things. Now, does it get us in, not to say in trouble at times, but maybe in like hot water at times? Sure. Of course it does. But we are genuine about it. And when we talk about things, like I think one comment that really stood out to us on an Instagram post was like, you guys are telling all the secrets that everybody wants to say. And that's the part that like kind of defines the vendor table, is like, we are bringing out the industry secrets that people are too afraid to talk about. They are too nervous to talk about. And we wanted to give a voice to the vendors, to the unheard, really, because vendors are people too. Let's be real. Like, right. But in the wedding industry, a lot of people think they could walk all over a vendor and mistreat vendors. It's just like we're not, sometimes we're looked at as not human. Like, we're just there to serve. And while we are there to serve our clients, we are still humans. We still have emotions. We still are there to, we're still people. At the end of the day, we're freaking people. So we wanted to share that insight that like, hey, we're here too. And we see your bullshit and we'll call you out on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it. Yeah, it really does define.
And people don't like that sometimes.
I'm telling you.
Surprise.
Fluff.
But we're okay with that. Like, if you don't like some of the things that we have to say, then we are not the right people for you, and that's fine.
Don't listen. Don't listen. Go find something else. Like, it's not complicated. It's like they're trying to find a way to like take you down.
Yeah.
And it's so dumb, because you have to think the majority of people love you.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that'll comment and be like, I can't imagine anyone hiring these arrogant assholes or whatever. Like, we're absolutely not arrogant. Mike's maybe a little arrogant, but I'm very humble.
Love the eye roll.
And it's just so funny because a lot of our couples listen actively to the podcast. I've gotten bookings from the podcast. Mike's gotten bookings from the podcast. The right people will find you. Yeah, regardless, right.
The people that love you guys.
They like the candidness of what we're talking about, and they like the honesty. So as much as there's a ton of people out there that hate what we have to say, there's a lot of people out there that love what we're saying and feel very grateful for it. So
well, and that's what's great.
Those are our people.
The right people. Like, that's what you're drawing. Like, those are your your ideal clients, the ones that just love how honest and upfront and even. I know most people won't agree to this word from some perspective, but professional. You guys are, throughout everything that you do, and you guys just own who you are, and like that's what people are drawn to. Like, they love what you guys represent, and that's really just a part of your brand too. Like this is what we want to show people, and like the right people are going to come to from that, and that's so cool too that you're saying that. You've gotten inquiries from your podcast that you're talking about weddings, and not even
Yes.
really from the full client side, but like for other vendors. And and you'd probably, I don't know if you ever thought that like that would even happen from starting this podcast.
No.
Right.
No, never.
So,
I honestly, when we talked about it, we thought they were going to freaking hightail it out of there. I was like, no one's going to book us.
We joke, but like I told Lauren this, like if I ever lost business from the podcast, like that would be the end of the podcast. And like, thankfully we never have. And in fact, I've like, we actually crunched the numbers because we did a presentation at the Love Union last week, and it was all about starting a podcast and the benefits of it. And so we like calculated the numbers of how much we both earn from the podcast, like in booking new clients. Lauren earned $28,000 of new client bookings, and I earned $24,750. So,
wow.
And I actually have 2 clients that just inquired this past week that I'm meeting with next week and they were both from the podcast. So interesting that it like, sometimes, something so raw and real could open a door for you. And yes, like you said, like the ideal client, finding your ideal client, maybe it's from starting a podcast. Who knows?
Right. That's amazing, guys. Like, and so inspiring too, in a way that there's so many different creative ways that we can attract those ideal clients. And you did something that you never expected. What happened with that, with starting the podcast? And I love too that you said like, well, if it didn't work, we'd shut it down. If it was going to hurt our business, we'd shut it down. That's just a great business decision, even if it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's really cool that that opportunity has come up. And even the fact that you have all these other opportunities that are coming up for your business to expose how great you guys are, like being, able to talk at the Love Union and, sharing your story with that and how to have a successful podcast. And because you guys just are real, and I feel like sometimes people like forget to just do that. Like they try too hard on the stories and their social media. And like, it's good because you want to create a good, strong brand, but, and then you're going to show up, and it's going to be harder to show up to a wedding day because you feel like you're actually not being what you showed up originally on social media. It makes it way harder for yourself.
We've talked pretty heavily about how we inject our personalities into our brands. Like we want people to see how we actually are, what it's going to be like to actually work with us, talk to us, interact with us. When I do consults, like this is how I'm talking to you. Do I put makeup on? No. I sit there with a mom bun and the sweats I wore to bed. Like that is it. And I've gotten some people who ask me like, are you serious? Like that's what you do? And I'm like, yeah, because every single person that's on the other side of that camera is exactly like me.
It's wearing the same thing.
They don't dress up. They don't dress up to get on a FaceTime call with me. So like, why would I do that? I want them to see what I look like 95% of the time. A mess.
Can't do that if you're at a corporate job, people.
Nope.
No. And I talk to them like I do on the podcast too. Like I don't, but like obviously you kind of have to judge the person that you're speaking with. Like you have to judge your audience. But most of the time, if they're reaching out to me, they already know what they're getting into because I put myself out there the way that I do so publicly. I don't know, Mike, I'm pretty sure you're the same way, only you're not wearing a mom bun.
No, but I'll wear a backwards hat if my hair is a fucking mess and shit like that. I'll be like, I'm like, I look like trash. Okay, like whatever.
Yeah.
I booked some of my favorite clients when like I look like absolute death. But that's the thing is like, you interject your personality into your business. We talk about this on a couple of episodes. Like putting your personality into your business is a big part, whether it's a podcast, whether it's your photography business or anything. Like if you're starting, a small business anywhere. I think today it's important, to have personality in a business. You look at some of these businesses, I'm thinking wedding industry related, but like businesses like Honeybook, okay, they have such a strong personality on social media. They're funny, they're charming, they're like they interject, like whoever's they're doing their social media is crushing it.
Amazing.
They're bringing personality. They're bringing personality to the business, and it makes you want to engage them. It makes you want to, be a customer. Like I've been a customer of them since 2018, and I'm not going anywhere. I love their program. We're not sponsored by Honeybook in any way, shape, or form, but they are doing things right. They're a bigger business than what we are as as solo business owners and stuff like that. So we always talk about bringing personality in your business, whether it's especially for, like photography related stuff like that, showing yourself more like that. A lot of photographers are afraid to put themselves on camera or afraid to share their story on camera. It's the ones that do that are more successful. Look at guys like Nathan Chansky. Look at Cassidy Lynn. Okay.
Yep.
They've put themselves on camera and people are booking them because of their personality over their work per se. They want to work with them for their personality. And that's a big thing. Like I know Nathan's starting a whole business mentorship thing.
Yeah. I was a part of that program.
There you go.
Amazing.
I hired him because of his brand, of his personality. Like he's just so likable, and I just believed in him because he just kept showing up.
You could attest to that. That's like, I didn't realize you were one of his students, but that's what we mean is he put his personality out there, and as somebody you bought into his program and learned a lot from his program, and that's what we're trying to do with the podcast is the same thing, is just we're bringing our personalities to it. We get probably 100 DMs a day of people saying guys, we this is amazing. Thank you for shedding so much light on the industry and stuff like that. We're just being ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's I think ultimately, I think when it comes to a business or a business venture, if you are yourself, you'll see much more success than if you're you're not.
Yeah.
I think for me, gone are the days of the customer service voice. I don't do it. It's like, hi, how are you? This is Laura Bright Photography. So nice to meet you. Hey, girl. No, I'm done. We're not doing that anymore. No.
Right,
can you do that more often? Because that was great.
Hell the fuck no. I did that way too much when I was behind a bar.
Oh yeah, I used to work at the bars too. I know I didn't do that. But I would see it.
It's different for guys.
Oh yeah. What's up, fellas?
Girls.
They got to put on a show. The amount of apple juice shots that I took, them thinking that they were cola or whiskey, just to survive the night. Oh,
no more.
Especially on St. Patty's Day. My God.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's so true.
I also think we're living in a new world. People who. There was, generations that really wanted that very business-oriented meeting. They wanted it to be very professional and only suit and tie shit, But now we are moving into a new era where people want to feel like they can relate to you. And Mike and I are getting older, and our clients are getting younger. So it's one of those things where we have to reevaluate and reassess how we do business. And one of those things is to be relatable. And what's more relatable than just being your fucking self? I don't really know,
It's not a complicated thing. That's the thing. Is
just be yourself.
People overthink how they're supposed to show up.
It's not complicated anymore. It's pretty straightforward.
It's not rocket science. And it's interesting. I actually did a recording with one of my good friends.
Yeah.
She shot my wedding almost 8 years ago. And we've become just really good friends. We're almost like you guys, just brother, sister, super tight, pick on each other all the time. We just love each other. And she's been a photographer for 20 years. And she's just talked about the craziness and the shift of the industry, but how important it is to adjust to your clientele. You can't do the same thing you did 5-10 years ago. It just doesn't work that way. And if you're not willing to adjust, it's like old people with technology. I'm not going to get a smartphone. Well, okay. Well, then good luck communicating with nobody. It's just get up with the times.
It's adapt or be left behind.
Right. And it's not yes, you have to put in the work to adapt, but sometimes I feel like so many overthink what they have to do too. Just be your freaking self. It's, and I know it's hard for people that are introverted, and that's the wild part is I feel like so many photographers are introverted, and that's okay. But you got to put yourself out there if you want people to know more about you. because
Yeah.
there's only so much they know about you from your pictures and your little bio on your website. Like, you gotta show up more.
Yeah.
You guys really do a great job at that. It's fun. So fun to watch you guys.
It's funny you say like a lot of photographers are introverted, because I'm introverted, and like, but on a wedding day, I'm not fucking introverted. I am so extroverted. I'm the definition of extra. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm over the top. And same on the podcast. Like like people are like, is that how you are personally? Yeah, but I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, usually, like
I would say Mike's more of like an ambivert. Like, in certain situations, he's more of an introvert. In certain situations, he's an extrovert. Me, I also tend to, like, I'm a fucking hermit. I don't go out. I don't do things.
You love your hoodie and buns.
This is it, baby. Like, I don't go to bars. I don't go out. I don't go to parties. I like to sit in my home and read books.
Right.
But if I'm out, or like if my husband asks me to go and do a thing with him and his friends, I'm out. You know, I'm out. I'm doing it. I'm the extrovert in the family. It's like situationally. When we're at weddings, I can't be tamed.
Yeah,
Mike is trying. It's impossiple.
You guys.
I haven't tried the same anymore. I think I tried the first wedding, and I was just like, what am I doing? I was just let her go.
That's why you guys
let her be free.
Yeah. You guys have to get those camera glasses.
We're definitely gonna get them this year. But no, it's a God honest truth. Like, you have to be a little bit more extroverted, especially as a wedding photographer, than maybe you want to be. And unless you're a super documentary style where, you know, you're not interacting with the clients. And I've seen photographers that are like that, where, you know, they're fly on the wall completely. Like, they don't do any posing, anything. Like, they just kind of like, hey, like, you know, you do your thing and I'm going to document. Like, you could do that. You could be like introverted in that case. But as a wedding photographer, you have to sometimes take charge of a situation, especially like group shots, especially like dictating the flow of the day. So you have to be somewhat extroverted. You might not want to be, but it's funny. Like, I keep mentioning him, but I remember seeing a reel from Nathan Chansky. It was like the introverted extrovert, you know, like that just basically comes out, and there's my dog. But like that, that comes out on a wedding day. And I remember seeing that and just being like, that's me.
That's so relatable.
Oh, it's like the one of him in the car, and then he's just like waiting, like getting pumped up. Like, yeah, I know that was probably one of my favorite reels of all time. Like, he crushed it. Like,
very relatable. Very relatable.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
The way he comes up with stuff is just like genius, because it's all so relatable from a photographer perspective. We're just like, oh my God, he's right again.
Yeah, right.
That's me.
Yes, he's so freaking good at it. I know how he does it. Nathan, you're so good at it.
God, I wish I was as good at creating content for myself as he is for himself. It's so good.
It's just so likable. You can't hate the dude. You can't.
President of the Nathan Chansky fan club. All three of us. He's great. Shout out.
We love you, Nate.
He's great. Love him.
It was honestly so fun being on his podcast. Like, he's just such a likable dude. Like, just conversing with him and stuff. Like, he really is who he is, and that's what makes him so admirable and so even desirable to be in his coaching program. Like, he just is. He's a straight shooter. He's going to be honest with you, but he's so fun. Yeah, I just
love that.
Yeah. But like, that's how he's so successful. Like, he's a huge prime example of showing up and seeing the results of that. Like, I mean, he's crushing it. He does it. He freaking does it. Yeah, I love it. Speaking of like, kind of like in this topic area, I feel like there was this one wedding. This was honestly right before I even think it was before I started getting into wedding photography, but I saw this one photographer at this wedding. It was friends of mine in Ohio, and the photographer was legitimately wearing like leggings with like an Old Navy oversized t-shirt, and I think she was almost they were like flip-flops. And I'm like, oh gosh. And I mean, the pictures came out great, but from like a guest standpoint, I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you just let that be acceptable, like, so for you guys, you really talk about it, from a unique perspective, but the idea of being a professional in this field, like, what are some areas that you see that photographers need to stop doing to be like, because I know it's important to be personable in your brand and in your business, but like, what are some areas that, like, people, like, they just need to show up professionally, like, that you see, like, they just need to stop and they need to, like, do this instead?
Definitely, like you keyed on two words there: personable but professional are really two important things. Like, yes, you want to bring personality to your business, absolutely, but you have to be professional. Like, we joke around, we have fun. Like, this is us on a podcast, but at the end of the day, we're professionals. Like, we were taught to be professional, but you have to take great care, especially when you own a business, because if you're not professional, that will haunt you in the long run. Like, you will get a negative review from that. You will, it will impact you. I like the one thing, like, as a male photographer, like, male photographers, I notice a lot, like, they underdress on a wedding day. Like, they really do. I've seen, like, very, very low key, like they're wearing like slacks, or like they're wearing like, I haven't seen jeans, thankfully, especially in New York. But
Yeah.
I see a lot of photographers that like especially on Instagram and TikTok, I'm like, you wear that on a wedding day?
Or like they
I'm
wear
like
like a
that.
black t-shirt with black pants or something,
Yeah, like, I'm like that's, listen, I want to be comfortable on a wedding day too, but it's somebody's wedding. And like, if you're showing up to the Park Chateau dressed in a t-shirt and black pants, like, that's not gonna fly. So I always say, like, know where you're shooting, number one. Like, what's the level there? If you're unsure, ask your clients. um but always be professional about it, and especially with the way you dress. Personally, I wear a blazer every wedding. I wear a really nice pair of, like, those, like, athletic chinos that, like, look like dress pants, but they're like flexy kind of
Oh
thing, so
yeah,
like they're
I got like
comfortable
the
as hell.
Lululemon ones. I get
Yeah,
it.
like,
Yeah.
super comfortable, but they look really nice. I wear a really nice pair of Cole Haan wingtips, like, so they professional looking shoes, but have support. They're like, they're stylish, but they're supportive. Like, always, like, want to be stylish but supportive with, like, your attire. I
Yeah.
wear like a long sleeve button down. I do wear a tie, especially to church weddings, and a blazer, and that's, like, usually my go to every wedding. I have, like, a look that I do. So I always try to dress professional, and I swear, I roll up to a wedding and I get a ton of compliments on what I wear. Like, oh, you look so nice. Oh my God. Like, like, a lot of the moms really appreciate it. Mothers of the bride, even fathers of the bride, like, do appreciate that, as a vendor, you're dressing up for their child's wedding day. I've gotten compliments from the bride, stuff like that. So I always try to look professional on a wedding day. I know for women, it could be a little easier. You could kind of get away with a little bit more.
I have maybe a little bit of a, not necessarily, I don't necessarily disagree with Mike. What I will say is that what he said about knowing where you're working is huge. So, like, if you're working at, like, for example, where he was saying before, like Park Chateau, somewhere like Ohiko Castle, somewhere very, like, extravagant, you're going to want to show up and dress the part for that. Whereas, like, if you're shooting a beach elopement,
yeah,
you can probably chill,
yeah,
Right. Dress down a
and
little.
button
I
down,
know,
and so, like, for a guy, button down and chinos and, like, boat
yeah.
shoes are fine for a beach
I'm
elopement.
I'm gonna say that, like, it's hard for us to say what's acceptable because there's so many different regional ways to do it, especially like if you're in Arizona, if you're in Texas,
Yeah.
places that have high heat, you're just gonna want to not die when you're outside. So whatever I feel like you can wear that's comfortable, where you don't look like a schmuck, is probably what you're gonna wear. Me personally, I've gotten to a point in my career where I feel like as long as I don't look like a schlep when I show up on a wedding day, I'm good. But I also need to be comfortable. So
Yeah.
I, like, over the winter, I wore a pair of, like, faux leather leggings, a pair of black tennis shoes from Cole Haan, a turtleneck, and a blazer. I usually wear a blazer to every wedding if it's, if the weather is not too
Awful.
dire, like if it's not super hot.
Not gonna get
but unlike Mike, what he said, women can kind of dress down a little bit more. I feel like we can get away with it a bit more than guys can. But I don't really see anything wrong with wearing like a black polo shirt and black slacks. I think that's still pretty professional. That's business casual.
Yeah, you want to blend. You want to blend in. Like I want to say, like I was always taught, like, blend in. Like, you want to dress. If the wedding's business casual, dress business casual. If the wedding's like, you know, like beach attire, wear beach attire.
Black
like
tie
dress
event.
the part.
Do it.
Yeah,
something that's not going to call attention to you. Basically,
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
you don't want to be the guy. Like, I've seen this before. I cannot believe that I'm telling the story again because I can't believe it actually happened. But I saw a photographer that was wearing sweatpants, flip-flops with socks, a backwards hat, and like I sent her home.
She showed up as like your second, like
this
that?
was when I was working at the studio. Like, this person was shadowing to be approved to be a second shooter or associate shooter, and I was like, you gotta go.
Wow.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
Nope.
I got
absolutely the
no
fuck
words.
not.
I got no
Yeah.
words. You're like, yes, you can wear that at home. Like what I do.
You cannot show up to somebody's wedding looking like that. Like, you just cannot.
Right. You look like a fucking hobo.
Yeah.
Weird. That's so bad.
You look like a bum.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
A big tagline that we have is we tell people, don't be a garbage person.
Don't be a garbage person.
And that's like that's one of our taglines. So
I love
that
it.
person was a garbage person. Don't be a garbage person.
To touch on your actual question, though, because we did I feel like we do this every single time we talk about wardrobe. We go off on like a huge tangent. But
about it.
I think one of the things that like people should stop doing is comparing themselves to other people on the internet.
Comparison.
That's only a hindrance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. It's so easy to happen, but like what you're always, I always feel like with this topic, you're always playing catch up and you're actually never going to identify your own brand if you're just trying to follow what other people are doing. You're never going to stand out. You're never going to actually be what you set out to do. You're just playing catch up. Like you're just tagging along, and you know, people are going to see through that because you're actually not going to even have confidence in your own brand and your own self if you're always going after somebody else's work and someone else's strategies and what they do. Like, it's okay to be inspired by it, but you gotta, like, it's the imposter syndrome is challenging, but you have to be conscious of it too. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. Buy confidence. Yep.
You nailed it on the head there, Taylor. It's like we all used to post on Instagram because we liked our shit, you know, like we loved that shit. And now it's like, I feel like a lot of people are looking to others to try to emulate what they're doing and try to make that their identity. And that's just not how it should be anymore.
It's a
like
false
we need
identity.
to go back.
Yeah.
We need to go back to what makes us happy, what makes our work speak for itself, instead of grabbing from other people and trying to incorporate it into their own work, because it's just not original anymore.
Yeah. That's what I love about someone like Henry with Henry's Diary.
Oh God, you know how we feel about him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we love him.
Low-key,
we love him.
He's going to be coming on the podcast soon.
Nice.
I definitely have to listen then because I love him.
I feel like he's just the epitome of like just owning your authentic. Like, and I know, like, I hate using the word authentic because I feel like it's so, it's like almost annoying to say, but like he really understands that word so well, because everyone's like, oh, bringing you authentic photos. I'm like, it's the same stuff I see everywhere else. Like, you know, like it's really just like understanding your clients in the end, but in my opinion, but like he really owns authenticity, like the word. Like I feel like you should put his face next to that word in the dictionary. Like he really owns like that perception of it. So
God, he's so talented, and like he's one of my like, if there's a Mount Rushmore of photographers that inspire me, he's up there. He's on there. he's next level, and like he's very genuine with what he posts and how he does things, and like he's inspired, like he inspired me a lot, like a lot of
Yeah.
my style is similar to his in terms of my editing and my flow and everything like that. And
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I just love what he does in terms of making gifs. I do that for clients, like because like he was inspired me to do that. His double exposures are just brilliant, like things like that. So I always say though, like you always like if there's a photographer out there that inspires you, use them for inspiration. Don't copy. There's a difference.
Huge
Like
difference. Yep.
like I don't like the fact that like photographers now are just copying trends and they're copying styles. Like everybody saw Sophia Richie's photos and were like, I'm gonna shoot like that and like be like,
Yep.
oh yeah. And like a lot of that shit is what we talk about on the podcast, where it's just photographers copying styles and trends. They're not doing it with conviction. They're doing it to copy. They're doing it to like there's no inspiration there. It's just like, oh, like it's like a client wants that. But that's not what like that's not something that's like calling to you. You're just doing it because a client wants it. You're not being unique to yourself. Like I created
Yeah.
my look 8 or 9 years ago and I've stuck with that. Yes, I've evolved. Yes, I've added certain things to it. Yes, I've added certain, like I get inspired by photographers all the time, but I'm not going to change my entire look every month because another photographer is out there doing something that I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to buy that preset. I want to,
Yep.
I want to buy
Yep.
this gear because they're using that. Like, hell no. And I think that's what happens is a lot of the younger photographers have done that, and they're not finding consistency because of the fact they're just looking to copy other artists.
And I think that's where they struggle so much with their confidence. And what brings them down is because, like, in the end, the work might look good, but they don't actually believe in it.
That's the bottom line.
I could point out, like, if you sent me 10 profiles on Instagram, I could point out the confident photographers. I could point out the ones that like really just love their work and they're inspired by their own work, but they maybe they take an inspiration from other photographers here and there, but they're true to themselves. One of the biggest compliments I ever got was actually from Lauren, where she was just like, I could scroll through like, the hashtag Long Island wedding photographer and pick out your photos and know they're your photos.
Best compliment you can get.
And that's like, that's so, it's so true. It's one of the best compliments you could get because people know it's your work. Yeah. I love when clients say like, I was looking at Long Island wedding photos and, I just kept coming back to your work. I kept coming back to your images. I kept coming back. I kept landing on them. And that's what made me inquire. And like, when you have photographers out there that aren't, that are so similar because they're using the same preset, they're copying the same look, the same style, there's nothing to stand out like from. You're not standing out from anybody. Yep. So it's like you're copying to copy. You're emulating to emulate. You're not creating for yourself. You're creating for a trend. And that's the part that I think we say on our podcast, we say all the time, but like, stop copying, start creating.
So good. Like that's literally what photography is all about in this role is in order to be able to be successful. Because I do believe if you're copying, you're just gonna fall off because you're gonna lose confidence, you're going to get burned out, and you're never gonna really believe in what you're creating. Like I don't remember who said it, but it was so true. Like the stuff that you post is the stuff that you are most excited about and confident in. You shouldn't be posting stuff that is just to fill the feed. Like people are gonna be confused by it eventually. Like they're not going to be able to like see your best work and see what you're all about and what you really love. And it was such a good point to me. Like that's why I'm like way more intentional about the exciting piece of my work, and also pushes me to do better in creating as well, because I want everything that I do, I want to be able to post it, because I want every session that I show up to, every wedding that I show up to is my best work, So yeah, I think that is like literally the best way we could honestly even finish this episode is that point right there, is stop copying, start creating. Like that's That's huge. That's
should I put that on a T-shirt? Maybe we should put that on a T-shirt.
Probably, yeah.
People would buy. I'd buy it. I'd probably more buy a hat. I like backward hats, like what you're wearing. I love my hat collection.
There you go.
Yeah, I would absolutely buy that. But yeah,
Heather got me a shirt.
awesome.
Hold on, I want to show you because this is really funny.
Your shirts are so neatly put together there.
You know what? Marie Kondo got me.
That's how I fold shirts too. Marie Kondo got me. Yep.
Says I can't. I have a wedding.
Oh, that's I love that. That's fantastic.
So, yep.
Yeah, that's
Can't do anything. Got a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I should wear that
yes,
around the
everything.
house.
It's very neat over here because listen, I fell victim to the Marie Kondo shit. Look at this.
Hey,
so neat. So clean.
That's how I pack my suitcases. It's the best way to do it. Yeah.
Same. Rolling.
One of my
rolling the T-shirt.
Love it.
Yeah.
One of my last questions is, besides, your time that you're investing into your business, I ask everyone this. I always love to hear like what you guys just love to do in your free time. What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy out of life outside of your business?
Fairy porn.
Freaking prenup.
I'm just kidding.
No, she's not kidding.
I'm not kidding at all.
She's not kidding at all, by the way.
I love to read. I love to read. I'm obsessed with reading books. I have a reading goal of like 75 books this year. I'm already at 26.
Wow.
I love reading. I don't watch TV, like hardly ever anymore. So like in my spare time, I really just like smash through books, and it's one of my favorite things in the universe. I know it's boring. It's not the sexy answer, but it is what I like to do.
It's not though to you. It's not to you. Like it's
very important to me.
Happy in life. Yeah, I love that.
It's how I escape real life. I feel like it gives my brain stimulation. It also makes me more creative. I have the brain that can picture the things that I'm reading. So I know that not everyone can do that, which I just found out recently. I thought that everybody could do that, but apparently not. So I visualize everything that I see on a page in my brain. It's like I'm watching a movie, but I'm not. I'm reading it. And that I feel like has forced me to be more creative in different ways as well.
I love that. That's so cool. It is. I think it's so important. Like reading books can be challenging to most people like me. But I think it really is. I feel like there's so much creativity that's sparked out of that. So thanks for sharing that. I love that.
And it's not all fairy porn, okay? Just to let everybody know. Only a small portion. It's more epic, high fantasy, science fiction, and a little bit of romance, but a lot of like darker themed stuff. But no, it's not all porn, Michael. God.
She likes shadow daddies. That's like what I tell.
I love a shadow daddy. If any women are listening to this or any, smut readers, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say shadow daddy.
Right.
So.
The
you guys might not, but
bookworms are connecting with you. Most people are incredibly confused
Book
right
talk.
now.
So. They're going to Google it afterwards, and they're going to be very shocked.
You should list out all the books you've read so far too. Like just share. Well, maybe not. Yeah, that could be risky.
I can send you a list, but it's going to be very disturbing in some ways.
You sure you want to go down that rabbit hole, Taylor?
No,
are you sure?
I thought about it, and give me the PG.
No,
book.
a lot of them are very
have
tame.
Any of those. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm reading a very bad one right now. I can't say it out loud.
Oh, it's fine. It's okay. You don't have to.
But if anyone's curious, my IG is Lauren O'Brien Photo. Reach out.
Yes. What about you, Mike?
Spare time. I don't have much of it, to be honest with you. Like my spare times are usually like late night. Sometimes I find solace in like sitting at my computer and just, like watching a couple of videos or watching a movie or something like that. Like my wife and I don't get a lot of time together. So usually our Friday nights are like spent on the couch, like having a sushi date, watching like a terrible reality television show. But But in spare time, I'm a big video game nerd. I love video games. Grew up playing them. Like that's something that like I still have passion for. I still love to do. I'm 38 years old, but I still love a good video game. I used to play, like, this is nerd level, but I was a competitive Call of Duty player in 2000, from 2003 to 2007 or 2008, where I traveled the country and played competitive video games and was one of the top players in the world. And I always had that level of competition. I played sports, like, so I like always wanted that competition level, and I always had fun doing it. Nowadays, I play to have fun, but when I do play, I still have a good time doing it. And like, it's harder now as a dad and you know, running a business, and also the podcast is taking off, so that has taken a lot of our time. I do a lot of the back end stuff with the podcast and things like that, so that takes up a good amount of time. But those are things I enjoy doing. But you could find me like some nights like till 1 a.m. playing a video game, like just kind of decompressing. I put a pool in my backyard last year, and I fucking love that.
Dude, I'm just so nice, right?
Yeah, you could find me on my in my pool on a float with a seltzer, hard seltzer.
The good stuff, in the summer. Man. The good stuff.
As soon as I'm done with the office day, usually 3 o'clock, I'm like, get me in that pool, get me a seltzer, and I'm good. That's my stuff.
Way to decompress. Yeah.
Not as like, not, you know, Lauren reads books and she's so well versed
educated
in her.
And
there's nothing wrong with video games. I like video games. Fun fact: all of my external hard drives are named after video game characters.
That's awesome. I still got my Super Nintendo and N64 in this room right now. So
nice.
Oh yeah, it's you gotta love the OG. I sold my Xbox because I know that probably hurt you a little bit, Mike, but I just don't play it anymore. But I love to bust out the old school stuff sometimes.
Oh, I was always a PC gamer. Like nice. I have right here is my custom gaming PC that I spent way too much money on, that my wife is like, why'd you buy that? Like, I'm like, babe, it's a computer for
Mom.
work. It's all right. I always feel like I still have the mom on my mind when it comes to like this shit, but it's the truth. Like, I told my wife, I'm like, this is a tax write-off. It's like, this is my video editing PC that I don't edit videos on, but
don't tell them.
The IRS does not need to know.
Yeah, don't expose yourself.
I'll just bleep out those spots.
Yep.
Because the IRS is going to listen to our podcast, but you never know.
It's tax season. Who knows?
Always watch. I have an irrational fear of the IRS.
Ugh, they're awful.
I do. Like my husband knows it's a fucking problem. He's like, what? Yep. He's talked to you about it. I feel like Lauren has this crazy fear that she's going to get audited by the IRS, even though she does everything by the fucking book.
Right. Well, that's why you got CPA, bookkeeper, anything to protect yourself. Oh, yep. Mm-hmm. Trustworthy ones. But, well, and what I'll do, thank you guys for sharing that. Love that. All of it. I'm going to put your information in the show notes where people can connect with you. And just because I think, you know, if anybody hasn't listed your podcast, it's worthwhile. I also think that your guys' work is so inspiring just as photographers. And I think that, you know, people should follow you guys just because of the trueness of what you create. And I think that's why people should follow you too, is that you really represent like the genuine brand of who you guys are. So yeah, seriously guys, thank you so much for being on today's episode. It was a blast having you. Wonderful meeting you over video, and just really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you so much for having us, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, it was a blast and an honor. Thanks everyone for listening in, and I'll see you all next week.